Good evening. The time is now 6:22. I call the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, meeting to order. We all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll now take roll. Just state if you're present. Ms. Bellick?
Present.
Ms. Hollis?
Present.
Webb J. present. Mr. Woods?
Present.
Mr. Bailey?
Present.
Mr. Lerat? Mr. Lerat is absent. Lieutenant Doob? And we have our fee accountant, Russell Ricotta. All right. First agenda item is board action on approval of minutes for the August 28th, 2018 meeting. Do we have any board discussion?
Go ahead. All right. Mr. Chair, I'd like to pass a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made by Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Woods for the approval of the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. All right, there is, we have two items that we need to add to the agenda this evening, so I'm looking for a board, a motion from the board to add, after approval of minutes for the August 28th meeting, approval of the minutes from the emergency meeting. What was the date of that meeting?
18th.
From September 18th. And also, we need to pass a resolution later in the meeting for the approval of the correction to action plan. So if I can get a motion from any members of the board if there's discussion.
Mr. Chair, I move to amend our September 25th agenda to include approval of emergency minutes for the September 18th meeting, and also to add for the resolution that we need to approve this evening also.
All right, a motion was made by Commissioner Woods. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Bailey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Right. So board action, approval of minutes from the emergency meeting. Is there any board discussion? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pass a motion to approve the minutes for our emergency meeting.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Bailey. Do we have a
Second.
second? We have a second from Mr. Woods. All in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chair, is this a good time to ask about that situation, or is that going to be discussed
I'll
later?
give you my director's report.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
All right, we have Ms. Bellick voting aye on approval of the minutes, and myself. Do we have, y'all voting?
Oh,
Aye.
All right.
Yes.
That motion carries. All right. Lieutenant Doob, Sheriff's Report this evening. Thank
How are you
for being
guys
here.
doing tonight?
Good, sir.
Doing good.
All right, we have had a little bit of of uptake on property crimes, some burglaries, mostly in the Hornville housing projects. It's currently under investigation, but we have I think it was two or three throughout the time in Hornville. You also had a couple of them in Kelowna, which it's going to probably be the same, area. I mean, not area, but probably the same person, but that's all in the investigation right now. Haven't got that one locked down yet, but we're working on it. In Booty, we had aggravated battery. We had a couple of domestics with husband and wife arguing, and not too bad there. And then in the Zalmans, we had we had a death of a child, which luckily, I mean, not that it's luckily, but it was natural causes. At first, they weren't sure maybe what the reasoning was, but everything was done, so that was determined to be natural. So, at least it wasn't anything foul play or anything like that. So, but we are aware of the Hornville stuff. We're aware still of the issues with four-wheelers and that kind of thing. But That's settled down a little bit here lately too, I think, with schools and, everybody back kind of into to that routine and that, going on with football and that kind of stuff with them. So, through the month of August, we had approximately 64 hours of patrol time. And September was 62. And, it's kind of where we're at. But basically our same routine pattern, patrol patterns and patrol times and stuff like that on that, so.
All right, I'd like to just say that we, as a board, do express our condolences to the family,
Yeah,
child
that
that
was-
was lost. That's very unfortunate.
That was a sad situation there. That's,
Any board discussions or questions?
Lieutenant Wu,
yes, ma'am.
you were mentioning your patrol. What's your hours of patrol through the housing?
Through the housing, like a day,
Yeah.
let's say average probably, as they ride through, depending on what's going on, if they're just doing a patrol through.
Because I heard you say 64 hours for the month of August.
Oh, yeah, it's
And then
just,
62 hours.
yeah, and it's just, as deputies, we have 24 hours a day, deputies, of course, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And as they patrol through, they ride through, they just, jot down their times, they go through and they'll stop, just periodically, just sometimes it's just drive through, sometimes kind of stop, sometimes just kind of sitting in an area, and just, depending on what, where, maybe even if there's a, I don't know, let's say maybe there's a crowd of people, just not, not like, on top of them, but just kind of sitting there, just, hopefully like see some of some of the elderly, kind of.
Like on my street,
Hello.
I have patrol that I would actually see a police officer drive down the street maybe 3 times, 2 times throughout the day.
Right.
So you guys go over there 2 times, 3 times?
Yeah, probably about 2 times. I would say probably 2 times, like I say, on a normal shift as they're just riding through the areas, without calls. I mean, that's just.
Right, right.
How we have it, our beats, I'm saying, and all that, we call them beats, are just our areas of responsibility. For the West Bank, we have 5, okay, and each, which we classify the Hornville, that's our 102 beat. Okay, so there's a deputy that's, that's patrolling through there, and he'll make, usually at least, like I said, depending on calls for service and stuff, but you average probably 2. And, sometimes more, of course. Hornville's been getting a little bit, more attention just because
Right.
we know what, there's a little bit of uptake, so,
Is it possible to have those beats?
yeah.
Is that what you call
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Beats. Is it possible to have those beats done later in the day?
We do them, well, it's 24,
Preferably
we have
at
like today, as a matter of fact, we work a 12-hour shift, so there's a shift that works days, and then a shift works nights. And it's the same thing, so that deputy that's working during the day hits it probably average to, and it maybe, a few times more. And then that same thing with that night, that shift that deputy is working at night, so, and that's also, the same thing, we also have that, so they're patrolling that whole area, Hornville, Kelowna, and, even like, say there, like Hornville especially, because, and Boutique, because you got a lot of neighborhood around that, that housing project, so, there are times probably spent more, and, just cruising, maybe right through that neighborhood some, but you're in that immediate vicinity of the housing projects too.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other board discussion? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Okay, and of course, like I said, hey, everybody, I got a card for you too. Feel free to call. I know I've been meaning to come get with you and, we can kind of sit down and,
I'm gonna think that this patrols and stuff, and I know we're specifically thinking about housing authority areas, but I would think that same phone call applies generally to
Yes.
wherever you may be in
of
St. Charles
course,
Parish.
of course. And look, we're all in this thing together. I mean, it just, we're just doing is this, our meeting here is just mainly the housing authority. But hey, like I mentioned earlier, we're pretty sure, like probably the same people that are breaking into these houses in Kelowna are the same ones that are, Hornville and Kelowna is not that far away from each other. So, the same,
Understood. Understood.
I have their names. I've called to turn their names. I know that these are the guys that's doing it. They're the neighborhood justices.
Ma'am,
I went and found out and investigated and found out what their names are. Because I'm not from around there and I don't know people. But I found out what their real names are. And I got their names. And the police know 'em.
Ma'am, I appreciate you being involved. We do have a time for public comments at the end of towards the end of the meeting. Okay. All right. The next agenda item this evening is the operation budget approval of our financial reports. First report we're going to look at is the low rent for August 2018. Mr. Ricotta.
Okay, the low rent program, we had a reconciled cash balance of 69,000.
You want to turn your mic on, please? You got to press it kind of hard. All right, there you go.
Okay. We had a total reconciled cash balance of $69,751.89. We're showing that the Housing Choice Voucher owes the low rent program $7,947.87. We had, and on that note, we had written checks in September that related to August and prior of about $62,099 that was actually written in the month September that are not on the August report. So those will be recorded with September financial statements. We had total income for the 11 months ended August 31st of $874,680.87. Total expenses, $805,695.77. We had a total change in net position of $69,028.39, which is a positive.
All right, do any of the board members have any comments or questions? All right. Go ahead, Mr. Woods.
I just heard this due from Housing Choice Voucher. We're still doing that? I thought we had,
We don't, no. Payroll is done out of one account. However, our time is allocated. So with that being said, Brandy, our housing supervisor, time is allocated per program. So each program pays a percentage. So when payroll is done in a monthly basis, it come out of one. Each account is one program. So at the end of the month, we'll put back the allocation portion of payroll. We are not borrowing money from one program for another.
okay. I just heard,
Yes, I know.
and I know we'd had this discussion.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, ma'am, okay.
No need to.
All right.
He
Thank,
said a positive.
all right, thank you.
All right, any other board discussion? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion from the board for the low rent?
Just accepting as presented.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept as presented the statement of net position for the low rent for August 31, 2018.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Woods. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Ms. Bellick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. All right, next agenda item is financial reports for the HCVP program. Mr. Ricotta.
Okay, for the month of August, the Housing Choice Voucher Program had a reconciled cash balance of $29,187.33. And of course, we want to recognize that payable that's actually due to the low rent program of $7,947.87. For the 11 months ended August 2018, for the administrative portion of the Housing Choice Voucher Program, we had $163,660 in operating revenues, and we had total administrative expenses of $190,279, which brings us to a loss of $26,619. For the restricted net position, or the HAP portion of the Housing Choice Voucher Program, we received $1,606,325 in revenue, and we had spent in HAP expenses $1,691,194, which brings us a deficit of $84,869.
That's what we're referring to.
The balance of restricted net position is actually a positive $15,297 because we took the beginning balance of our fiscal year. We had a reserve of $100,000.
Mr. Ricardo, if I may stop you.
Yes.
Are you in a particular page of this report?
I'm looking at the actual account numbers for the 11 months ended, page,
We number the pages from here on,
yes, I would.
because I was gonna tell you page one, but I
Yeah.
see the other two are page one.
On which page one are we looking at?
The first discussion was on the balance sheet. And then the second discussion was on, if you would flip to the third page, which actually has the breakdown of administrative expenses. And then the following page
That's it,
is the HAP.
that's it, Rodney.
Okay.
Yes.
It's just I was hearing the numbers, but I wasn't
Yes,
following you
following.
on paper. Okay.
So, as I was saying, we had a surplus for HAP, reserve of $100,165 at the end of last year, and with a deficit of $84,869 to date for the 11 months ended August. We still have a positive net position in HAP, or restricted net position, of $15,295. For unrestricted net position, we had a negative beginning balance, and that's your admin fee, and deficit of $146,890. And you add the deficit of $26,619, which brings us to a total deficit in the admin fee portion of the Housing Choice Voucher Program of $173,509.
How do we improve that number?
Board discussion.
I was just asking how do we improve that number? The deficit of 173,509.
Outside funding, there isn't. It would have to come from outside funding. There isn't a source that we have in-house, that will improve that number. It's a part of the fallout.
Okay.
All right, you have anything else?
And I'm hearing what she's saying, and I don't know, I'm
Just
good.
on that side, just on the Section 8 side.
Just on that
For
side.
low rent, which is what we actually control, that number is improving. We
And
we
that's-
control that part.
That's what I was looking to hear. There is something places to improve that number, and it will in time get better.
Not on the Housing Choice. We have no control. That money passes through us. We are a pass-through.
Yes, ma'am.
It comes through us and it goes to the landlord.
Gotcha.
Is that a good explanation?
Well, we do get funds to administer the program.
The administration
Yeah.
fees of it.
Gotcha.
That has improved.
Yes,
We
it
have
has.
cut,
Ma'am.
we have cut our
has.
administration budget almost in half. However, the problem is that our reserves were gone.
Right.
It's in a negative.
Um,
So how do we replace that becomes the issue. And we've had some conversation with the parish, and hopefully we are able to get a grant.
Okay. All right. Just as long as there are things in place to make the number better
Absolutely.
eventually.
I know just from previous meetings that we are certainly, as a board, exploring all options.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right, further discussion from the board at this time on the HCVP. Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the Section 8 statement for August 31st, 2018 as presented.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Woods,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bailey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. All right, Ms. Hollis, you ready to give us your report?
Absolutely. We'll start with the emergency meeting. A week and a half ago, during a conference, I received a phone call, and I'm going back to the beginning because you missed the emergency meeting.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Received
you.
the phone call while I was out of town that Fox 8 was at one of the properties and the sewer line had collapsed under the street. That was the state of emergency. The commission, I want to thank you guys for taking the action to provide the support I needed to move forward. When you guys called the emergency meeting and the declaration, it gave me the authority to move on the situation immediately. So we have contracted DLB, which is it's a construction company that specializes in infrastructure issues, which I think is what we need. We needed that type of experience on the site. They have been out there since Friday. They're out there, they're doing something else. We still have raw sewage that's coming up. Unfortunately, we have raw sewage still coming up, but this time it's not our fault. The parish has a lift station that's out of whack. And I think they're trying to repair it, but the downside is it's affecting our property. And it's in a different area from where the work is being done. I'm still waiting for the scope of service. I'm looking at potentially up to $100,000 in debt to repair this scenario. At the last meeting, you did authorize me to seek alternative ways of paying for it. And in reading some of the documentation, I noticed that the problem didn't start until the freeze. Is that accurate?
I'm not sure.
I think,
I'm not sure, Ms. Hollis.
I honestly think we may have had some issues prior to the freeze.
Prior to the freeze?
That certainly probably made the situation worse if I had to guess, but,
Well, we're definitely looking at FEMA. I need to say that FEMA, as an option, is not impossible, but the wait time may be an issue. I have been in communication with the Department of Housing and Urban Development since Thursday. We were together when it happened. So they followed up, they flew in an engineer from New Mexico. I spent the day with him. We went to all of the sites to look at all of the issues that we have. He is in agreement with the actions that we have taken. The resolution, Mr. Webb, thank you, saved my butt, because our procurement process definitely has to be modified. It has to be revised, and that process already began. But that resolution did what you intended for it to do.
I'd like to interject here just for a moment because we're talking about a lot of stuff here. We've got people in attendance and we've got people watching from the public. And we did call an emergency meeting. Well, I called it an emergency meeting of the Board of Commissioners.
Yes.
On September 18th. And unfortunately, that meeting could not be televised because the council chambers were being used by another meeting at that time. But because time was of the essence to get
Yes.
it done in an emergency fashion, we used one of the courtrooms, which does not have television cameras. So we approved the minutes a few minutes ago, but just for the sake of transparency, what I'd like to do is go ahead and read the letter that I wrote.
Absolutely.
And kind of briefly just summarize what our resolutions that we passed at that meeting.
Yes. It's going to be separated with a yellow sheet.
Need a,
Okay.
need a
I know
copy of
it's
the
in
minutes.
here, I just saw it a minute ago. Yeah, there you got it.
Yellow sheets, there you
All
go.
right, so on September 17th, the day before the emergency meeting, I wrote a letter that said, due to the collapse of an underground sewage pipe at Hahnville location of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, I, Webb J., as chairman of the Board of Commissioners, am declaring a state of emergency and calling an emergency meeting of the Board of Commissioners, time being of the essence. This emergency public meeting shall take place Tuesday, September 18th, 2018, so we may act to rectify the situation in the best interest of the housing authority and its residents to secure a safe and sanitary environment. I did that in order to protect the residents. There were things that needed to take place in a timely fashion, and we simply could not wait until a week later. At that meeting, we made a formal resolution of a declaration of emergency where the board reiterated what was said in that letter. We did a second resolution, adoption of emergency plan and emergency procurement, so that way we could get the resources to the housing agency in whatever means we need to do to secure
A contractor.
a contractor, funding, whatever was necessary to accomplish the goals of fixing the situation. And then we did a third resolution to authorize Ms. Hollis, our executive director, to ask for and obtain emergency funds from outside organizations, including FEMA if necessary. So that's what took place at that meeting, just, again, for transparency's sake. And then I'll now hand it back over to
Can I
Ms. Hollis.
interject right quick? I just want
Mr. Woods.
to just quickly just thank Commissioner Webb for all his energies. Thank him for keeping me informed. Unfortunately, I couldn't make that emergency meeting because I was out of town on fire department training, but he did make me aware, and I supported all the efforts that were happening here.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Thank you.
Hollis.
Other business, we today held our first public hearing for potential participation into the RAD program. It is not a decision-making event, because we're going to explore them all and make a determination as it relates to what would be best for the residents and the tenants of the St. Charles Housing Authority. And as we've been going through this process, we're learning of something new every day. So we're going to take the time, we're going to make a proper assessment. I am going to, on next week, put out a notice to hire a architect to do a needs study. We have not done that yet. We want to do a study on the property in Hornville, the property in DeSalmon, and the property in Boutique. Personally, I think they're structurally sound, but I'm not an expert. And from there, we'll make our decisions. The public hearing today does allow us to submit application. Submitting application simply reserves the units that we would need in order to participate in RAD. So we don't have to stop. And RAD is about a 36-month process. So we have emergency needs now, urgent needs. So that is my report for the day.
I'd like to also state, Ms. Hollis previously mentioned that when the issue arose in Hahnville, that she was at a conference. I was also at that conference. It was a conference of the Louisiana Housing Council. And one of the reasons that we're exploring this RAD program, among other things, is that essentially this is coming from the top down, from HUD on a federal level, saying that the housing agencies locally are going to have to explore options to do redevelopment, to improve units and secure funds, because public housing, as it has been known in the past, has not worked the way it was intended to work. And so we are looking at every option, because what we want to do is we want to improve public housing for our residents. And we'd hope to become a model for other agencies to follow in the future. So we have to explore every avenue in front of us to make the most informed decision.
I'll just say, I just would like the people in the room here and the audience out there to know that we have a really committed board up here. We're not thinking about the past so much, but we really want to move forward and create the best living conditions that there are. Know that that's where our heart and our minds are. We really feel for everyone here, and we just want the parish folks to know that, hey, we're just going to need some more commitments from the general public out there, from landlords to homeowners, anything that can help us, the parish officials that can help us move this board and this parish public housing forward.
That's the res, okay. So that's, this is where we're
I want to interject on
Ms.
Mr.
Hollis, go ahead.
Mr. Woods. I want to say that it has been an experience for me. I actually love this job. I'm not just saying that I get enjoyment from it, but it has been an experience for me being on this side of public housing, but it was also an eye-opener when I went to the conference last week, because I went to the conference, the only person I knew was my commissioner. But by the end of the conference was a 5-day conference, and it was all commissioners and housing authority executive directors. By the end of the week, I had executive directors pulling me aside, asking me, why are you hanging with your commissioner? And, you know, it was an eye-opener, but at the same time, I understood how lucky I was, because I was on the other side of the road. I was on the other side, yelling at the commissioners. But this group that I'm working with, I can honestly say that they are as committed as I am. She shocked me the most. And she's a councilwoman. She doesn't have to, I don't think that she have the same authority that the other commissioners have. You're here because you're just committed. She wants to see change. And these two gentlemen, I don't know what to say about Mr. Woods, and I am doing this because you guys are out there. But I don't know what to say about Mr. Woods, but he will show up at my office at any time of the day. You know, so that's commitment. And I already had told you about the heart of Mr. J, who is the reason I'm here, and Mr. Billy.
We're really
Thank you.
committed to what we're doing. I don't know how we not beating our own drums here, but whatever the past was is the past. And we're gonna be the best agency in this state.
Well, I like to say that there's a reason why I'm so committed, because I'm a product of public housing in New Orleans, St. Thomas Housing. Grew up there in the city.
Awesome.
So I'm committed, and that's just it. That's what I do.
Amen.
Thank you.
Right.
Do you have anything further for your report?
I am done.
All right, any board discussion, any questions?
Mr. Baylor, we haven't heard from you this evening.
Way to put him on the spot.
That's how direct we are. We were in this together.
I mean, I don't know where to start. I've seen it all. I've been here the longest. And I hope that shows that I'm committed. Because I've been here through different leadership, through different people up here, and I'm still fighting for y'all. I'm trying.
Amen.
And it's a struggle, but we're going to get there.
Thank you. All right, we have a resolution this evening.
Do you need me to explain why?
Would you please?
Yes, the resolution that you're about to read is a resolution that should have been submitted when we went over the corrective action plan. Corrective action plan has been revised from, since I have been employed, and most of the actions on them have been satisfied. We have some ongoing things that will take time, but we did not read the resolution when I submitted the action plan, last council meeting.
All right, well, I'm about to read it,
Read it on.
and then we'll vote on it. Resolution number 18-08-29-F, approving the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Revised Correction Action Plan. Whereas the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority has submitted a corrective action plan to the Department of Housing and Urban Development to address the agency deficiencies and has since modified that plan. Therefore, the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners would approve Resolution number 18-08-29F, approving the revised cap and authorizing the Executive Director to submit the revised cap as outlined in the attached documents. September 25th, 2018. Do we have any board discussion? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 18-08-29-F, approving the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Revised Corrective Action Plan.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Woods. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bailey. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Resolution number 18-08-29-F passes. Right. This time, We would now, do we have any other discussion from any board members? All right, at this time, we'll now open for public comments. If you come to the podium, make sure the green light on the microphone is on, and state your name and address for the record, and you'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Do we have any public comments? All right. Seeing none, do we have any discussion from the board? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn at 6:58 PM.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Woods,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bailey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. The meeting is now adjourned.
There we go, right?